My best friend Jess was always the type who laughed during scary movies and rolled her eyes at Ouija boards, but the day she pulled me aside after class, face pale, fingers trembling, I knew something was seriously wrong. She told me that for the past few months, she'd been hearing whispers at night. Not just random sounds, but clear, precise whispers repeating numbers over and over, the same number each night. But here's the thing. Every night, the number got one lower. The first time it happened, they whispered 21. She thought maybe it was a dream or sleep paralysis. But it kept happening. 20, 19, 18. Always after midnight. Always just loud enough to wake her, but never loud enough to find the source. She searched her room, her closet, under the bed, even checked the attic crawl space above her ceiling tiles. Nothing. Her parents thought she was stressed. Her little brother blamed the old clock radio even though it wasn't plugged in. And I didn't know what to think. She looked so tired all the time, like the shadows under her eyes were sinking deeper every day. One night, she stayed over at my house, and nothing happened. But the next night, back at her place, the whispers returned. 15. I asked her if it might be a countdown, but she didn't want to talk about it. Said she felt sick just thinking about what might happen when it reached 0. As the days passed, she became more paranoid. She covered her mirrors with blankets, started sleeping with all the lights on, even stopped using her phone past dark. One Monday, she looked at me in homeroom and whispered, 8. They said 8 last night. She had this hollow look in her eyes, like something inside her was already gone. I offered to come over, but she said no. Said whatever it was, it wanted her alone. She didn't want it to notice me too. On Tuesday, she handed me a note during class. It said, 7 tonight. If something happens, promise you'll remember me. I laughed it off at the time, but my fingers were shaking when I read it. That was the last time I saw her. Wednesday morning, she wasn't at school. No text. No warning. I called her phone. Voicemail. I walked by her locker and froze. It was decorated with sticky notes, photos, and a black ribbon tied to the handle. Nobody would tell me anything. Her parents posted a message that she was taking time away to rest, but no one believed it. Not really. That night I couldn't sleep. Around 2:13 a.m., I swear I heard something in my room. I sat up in bed, holding my breath. Nothing. Just the hum of the fridge downstairs. And then, so soft I thought I imagined it, I heard a whisper. Just one word. 6. I haven't told anyone yet. I keep trying to convince myself it was a dream. But last night, I heard it again. 5. I checked my phone, checked the whole house. No one was there. But my dog wouldn't go near my closet. And I found deep scratch marks on the window frame like something tried to force it open from the inside. I don't know what Jess got caught up in, but it's not gone. It just moved on. And now it's counting down again. But this time, it's for me. 4. I'm not sure what will happen when it reaches 0, but I keep hearing something. Closer. Every night. I started recording audio while I sleep. I play it back every morning. Last night, there was a second voice whispering with the first. Low. Growling. Like it was under my bed. 3. I told my mom I'm sick so I wouldn't have to go to school. I don't want to be around anyone. Whatever this thing is, it spreads. 2. My lights flickered last night. My laptop screen filled with static. I saw something behind me in the webcam for just a split second. Tall. Thin. No face. It knew I was watching. 1. I didn't sleep. I don't think I'll sleep again. I don't even know if writing this helps or if it's just feeding it. I can hear breathing now, just behind the wall. And I know I'm out of time. If someone finds this, if I'm gone tomorrow, please, whatever you do, don't listen to the whispers. Don't answer them. And don't stay in the room when you hear them say 0. You hear it everywhere, right? Stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers. Don't go anywhere with someone you don't know. We've all drilled these lessons into our kids since the moment they could walk. But the best advice I ever heard? If your child ever gets lost in a public place, like a busy mall for example, and can't find a police officer, look for a mom with kids. Ask her for help. Simple, right? Trustworthy. It feels like a breath of fresh air amidst the world of don't do this and don't do that. Finally, some positive advice to balance all the negatives. There are good people out there. Not everyone is a monster. I loved that idea. I shared it with my own kids. But as I think about it, I wonder how safe that advice really is. I'm a single mother, so I've had to rely on strangers for help more times than I'd care to admit. Maybe that's why it felt right to me, especially when I'm out alone wrangling 3 kids through a crowded mall. And God, the mall. Just thinking about it makes me exhausted. I mean, seriously, getting my kids out of the house is a mission on its own. Trying to get them into decent clothes, brushing their hair. Don't even get me started on the endless begging for snacks or drinks. If I forget to feed them before we leave, it's a disaster. They'll start with the pretzels, then it's the froyo. And soon, they're whining and tugging at me, pulling me in every direction. But once we're there, once we're in the mall, it's like everything else fades away. The noise of the crowd, the chaos, it's all worth it if I can make it through without losing someone. And believe me, when you're walking hand in hand with your kids, it's a relief. The thought of other families with their kids running wild, teetering on the edge of disappearing into the crowd, makes me feel like a superhero. At least my kids are with me, right? But then, something shifted. Maybe I should have noticed the signs earlier. It was after we passed that small, out-of-the-way store, the one in the corner where the lights flicker and the display window is always cracked. I had never seen anyone shopping in it, but my son kept eyeing it. That's when the feeling hit me. A sudden, cold shiver down my spine. It wasn't the kind of feeling I usually got in crowded places. This was different, and I just knew something was wrong. My oldest daughter pulled on my arm, whispering something about a woman with no face standing at the back of the store. I laughed it off, of course. Kids' imaginations. But that's when I saw her. She was standing at the entrance of the store, not moving, just watching. A woman. Well, she looked like a woman. Her clothes were old-fashioned, and her face was covered with some sort of veil. But something about her didn't sit right. She didn't belong in the mall. Not in this world, anyway. I didn't stop walking, but my gut told me I needed to move faster. I didn't want to draw attention, but I couldn't help glancing back. There was no one else in that part of the mall. Just the woman and me. I squeezed my kid's hands tighter, tried to pick up the pace, but my legs felt heavy. Then my son asked the question that made my heart freeze. "Mom, who's that lady? Why is she looking at us like that?" My daughter, clutching my other hand, suddenly gasped and whispered, "She's not a mom, Mom. She's not." I glanced over my shoulder again. The woman was no longer standing in the doorway. She was right behind us. She had followed us. I don't know how it happened or when it started, but suddenly, I couldn't hear the bustle of the mall anymore. The usual hum of voices, the clinking of shopping bags. It all faded. My kids were still there, but their faces were pale, wide-eyed. The woman's footsteps were just behind us, soft but unmistakable. I tried to stay calm. Maybe I was being paranoid, right? I tugged my kids along, trying to get them to walk faster. But it wasn't long before I felt it, the feeling of being followed. Not the usual awareness you have when you think someone's watching you, but the deep, cold certainty that someone wants you to know they're there. That's when my daughter tugged at my sleeve again, a sharp, frantic movement. "Mom, she's right behind us," she whispered. My heart skipped a beat. I glanced back one more time. This time, the woman was close enough that I could see her eyes, just barely through the veil. And what I saw was nothing. No pupils, no irises, just dark, hollow voids where her eyes should have been. I didn't know what to say, what to do. I grabbed my kids' hands and pulled them toward the nearest exit. But the exit wasn't near enough. The woman had started to walk faster, and I could hear her heels tapping against the floor, quicker now. Her breath was steady, almost like it was following a rhythm. But there was no sound. No sound at all. My heart was pounding. We ran. We didn't stop. We had to get out of there. I wasn't thinking about how out of breath we were. How the kids... His tank had been inching toward empty for miles, and the desert highway offered no mercy. No towns, no rest stops, no lights, and no phone signal. Just endless black asphalt under a dying sun. So when Martin spotted a crooked, flickering neon sign reading Hollister Motel perched beside a sagging two-lane road, he didn't think twice. He coasted his car to a clunky halt and crossed the street, gravel crunching beneath his boots. The building looked abandoned. Paint peeled like sunburned skin. The roof sagged as if tired of standing, and the windows were so dusty they reflected nothing but shadows. Inside, the lobby was cold, unnaturally so, and smelled faintly of rust and mildew. The front desk sat empty, the bell tarnished and silent no matter how hard he tapped it. A cracked leather guest book sat open, but the last entry was dated 1979. Just as Martin turned to leave, the floor creaked down the hallway, a sound that wasn't his. At the far end, a single door was half open, swinging lazily like it had just been touched. Exhaustion won over caution, and he made his way down the dim corridor lined with dusty portraits, old oil paintings of men and women from different eras, all glaring at him with glassy, lifeless eyes. He passed a portrait of a man with a crooked smile that seemed to widen when he looked away. Another was of a child holding a withered doll, her face a perfect replica of grief. It felt like walking through a mausoleum. The open room was surprisingly clean, untouched by time, with a made bed and soft sheets that whispered when he lay down. Within minutes, Martin was asleep, though not peacefully. He dreamed of eyes watching him, hundreds of them, pressed against cold glass, unblinking, patient. In the dream, someone whispered in a voice older than the motel itself, "They see you." He woke with a start, the pale light of dawn bleeding in through the curtains. The room felt heavier now, air thick with static. He stepped into the hallway, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, and froze. The portraits, they were different. The people inside them were gone. The frames remained, but what used to be paintings now showed crisp, clear images, not of old strangers, but of the motel hallway itself. One frame showed the view just past the lobby. Another showed the vending machine corner near the ice room. Another showed Martin himself, standing exactly where he was now, his own face looking confused and horrified. He leaned in closer and watched in real time as his reflection lifted its hand, just as he was doing now. These weren't portraits. They were windows or screens, surveillance from somewhere, or perhaps something watching. He turned in circles, now realizing there were dozens more frames than he remembered. Some of the windows showed angles from above, some from behind doors he hadn't opened. He saw himself sleeping last night, curled on the bed. Another showed him walking down the hallway. And then, one window showed a figure standing directly behind him. He spun around. Nothing. But when he looked again, the figure was now closer, approaching from the frame. It was not a person. It wore a pale, skin-like mask stretched too tight over its face, and its body shimmered like static, half visible, as though it were flickering between worlds. Martin ran. But no matter how far he ran down the hallway, the building kept stretching, each corner looping back into another. Every door he opened led to the same room, and the windows, there were more now on the ceiling, the floor, all watching him, always watching. He tried to smash one with a chair, but the glass wouldn't crack. It rippled like water. Something behind the glass smiled and waved. Then more shadows began to appear. Figures pressed up against the windows, watching him in hunger, in amusement, in judgment. He heard voices, whispering now from inside the walls, calling his name, laughing like children. You stayed the night. You were seen. You are part of the collection now. One by one, the windows went black, and in their place, the portraits returned. Oil painted, brush strokes smooth and elegant. In the largest frame, directly behind the front desk, a new painting had appeared. A man in a dusty coat, eyes wide with confusion. Hand lifted, mid-wave. His name, Martin Lowell, written in gold at the bottom. The room was still. The motel door creaked open again. Another traveler stepped in, looking for gas, for help, for sleep. The bell at the front desk suddenly worked and rang clearly in the silence. And somewhere deep inside the walls, a whisper echoed, "Final stop."